Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create the initial onto your bauble cover. So you should be at the stage where you've completed your 5 increase rows and you've repeated row 6 until row 12. And this is what your work should look like at this point. We are going to be creating the initial in the area on the last 7 rows and 6 single crochets across. If you pull your work apart slightly, the gaps between the stitches will become more obvious. What I'm going to do now is chain a border around this area. I recommend doing this as I find it really helps to make sure you stay in the right area when creating your initial. I'm using a scrap of yellow yarn to do this and my larger crochet hook. I'm inserting my hook into the first gap directly above the stitch marker. Yarn over and pull through a loop from the back of the work to the front. Next we're going to continue into the next gap directly above the one that we just worked in and in line with the stitch marker. Insert your hook, pull through another loop and then pull this loop through the one already on the needle as if you're chaining. Just adjust the tension of the first loop if you need to, and then continue like this into the next 6 gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then just count your rows to check that you've got 7. Now we're going to chain across to create the top of the border, and we want 6 single crochet gaps within the border, so we'll need to chain 7 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a good idea to pull your work apart slightly at this point to check that you can see the right number of gaps. Now we're going to create the third and final side of the border. Start by inserting your hook into the gap space directly underneath the one you've just worked and pull up a loop. And continue downwards into 6 more single crochet gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. To complete the border, snip the yarn that you've been using. With the final loop that's on the hook, pull the yarn all the way through the front of the work. Then insert your hook through the back of your work into the same gap that you were just working and pull the yarn tail through to the back. This will temporarily stop the border from becoming undone whilst we work the initial. Now we'll grab our chunky colour B yarn that we'll be using for the initial, and for this video I'll be showing you how to do the letter A. For the letter A, we'll be starting at the end point in the bottom left corner. So I'm going to start by inserting my hook into the gap on the bottom row and the first column. Yarn over and pull through a loop. Next, I'm inserting my hook into the next gap directly above the last one we just worked, following the pattern for my letter A. Now we need to continue working up into 3 more gaps. This completes the first side of our letter A, and you should have worked into 5 gaps in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next we're going to work 1 diagonal, and after this chain, 1 more diagonal. So we've now completed our first side of the letter A and our first diagonal. We're going to chain into 1 more gap across the top row. And then we're going to work our second diagonal coming down. One, and 2. Now we are going to work our way down the right hand side of the letter A. The gap that we are already in counts as our first for this side. And now we need to work into 4 more coming down. 1, 2, 3, 4. This completes our outside edge of the letter A. Next, like we did with the border, we're going to trim our yarn, pull the yarn tail fully through to the front of the work, insert our hook into the same stitch coming from the back, and pull this yarn tail through to the back. Now's a good opportunity to wiggle your chains slightly to make them look more even. Now let's create our horizontal bar across, and this is worked in the 4th row up. So counting our gap spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where we want to insert the horizontal bar. So pull your work apart slightly to find the gap. Insert your hook and pull up a loop. And we are going to work across into 4 more gaps, joining in the last column. One, 2, 3, 4, and pull your work apart again to find the final gap to work into with 1 final loop. We've now completed our letter A. Trim the yarn again as before, pull the yarn tail through to the front of the work, insert your hook through the back, and pull this yarn tail through to the back of the work. And this completes our letter A. Again, you can use this opportunity to adjust the chains as you see fit. Now let's remove the border before inserting our bauble into the bauble cover. Using your crochet hook, pull the yarn tail back through to the front of the work and then free that first chain from the yarn. Now you should be able to pull the yarn tail to remove all the chains. Now we're going to insert the bauble into the bauble cover before completing the rest of the pattern. Using your crochet hook, insert it into the hole at the top of the bauble cover. Loop the string of your bauble around the hook and pull it through this top hole. Pull the string through and wrap your bauble cover around the bauble. Now you can reattach your smaller hook to your work and continue the rest of the pattern. Thank you for watching.